To Dust. Written by Kristen Mullings. 2025 copyright.
Chapter 16, Ashes of the Root. The fire was quiet inside me for the first time in weeks. Not gone. Never gone. But muted, coiled beneath my ribs like a beast licking old wounds. I sat at the mouth of Tetherhold, the wind gnawing at my skin, and watched the dusk bleed across the sky. Seren was inside, preparing something she wouldn't name. She'd become more secretive lately. Protective, yes, but guarded, too. I couldn't blame her. Whatever Thorne had seen in me, whatever third mark haunted my soul, she was trying to understand it before it became a prophecy. I closed my eyes, trying to feel beneath the silence. And that's when the past came for me. The flashback wasn't like a dream. It was a possession. I was a boy again. 8, maybe 9. The air was thick with smoke and incense, the scent of copper and lilies choking the breath from my lungs. The temple was hidden beneath my father's estate. A secret even my mother didn't know. He brought me there after dark, always after dark. We'd walk the spiral staircase in silence, our hands slick with oil from the ceremonial lamps. You must remember, he'd said once, fingers tightening on my shoulder. What we are is older than kings. Older than demons. We are the blood that binds. There were symbols etched into the walls. Not infernal, those I would learn later, but something deeper. Root script. The language of the god beneath. I didn't understand it then. I just knew the place terrified me. Father would kneel before the altar, slit his palm, and whisper names into the stone. Names that trembled. Names that bled. I watched once as the altar drank his blood. That was the first time I heard the voice. Child of fire. Son of the flame-forged chain. You are mine before the first breath, and mine beyond the last. I had screamed. My father had smiled. The memory broke with a gasp. I fell to my knees, palms scraping stone. My heart was racing like a trapped bird. Seren rushed to me, eyes wide. Kael. What happened? My father, I croaked. He made offerings to the god beneath. Blood offerings. I was there. I heard it speak. Her face paled. So it's not just a bond. It's a legacy. You were marked from the beginning. Not Erzalek. Not the demon prince. Something older. Something that used him. She didn't speak, just took my face in her hands. Her fingers trembled. We spent the rest of the night digging through Thorne's notes. He'd left behind a black scroll, one he claimed was too dangerous to open without preparation. Seren cracked its seal with a whisper. Inside, the origin of Thorne. He had not always been Thorne. Once, he had been Thalarion of the Hollow Court, one of the first flamebound warriors tasked with guarding the roots of the old gods. But he failed. He tried to burn away the rot beneath the world and was consumed instead. That's how the god beneath marked him. Through Thorne's bloodline, the god seeded corruption. It waited. It watched. And it chose successors, those whose veins could carry both fire and void. Seren looked up from the scroll. Kael, your father was descended from Thorne. It took hours to breathe again. Not because I was surprised, but because some part of me had always known. The root ran deep. The god beneath wasn't just some sealed horror. It was familial. It fed on inheritance, on ancestral pacts, on the sins of those who thought they could cage it. And now, it was waking through me. We need to find the Severance Grove, Seren said suddenly. I blinked. The what? It's where the chained flame first rose to bind the god beneath. The original pact site. If there's a way to undo this line, cleanse the mark, it'll be there. I nodded slowly. And if there isn't? She didn't answer. We left Tetherhold at dawn. The grove was 3 days south, hidden beneath the hollow spires. It was said to only appear when blood was spilled willingly, sacrifices of memory, not flesh. The road was harsh. Spirits howled through the woods. Old beasts stirred. And worse, my mind frayed. Every night I saw him. Me. The version with wings, fire, black eyes. He didn't speak anymore. Just watched. Waiting. But I also saw another figure now. A woman. Veiled in silver. Standing before the iron door. She whispered only once. Your name was never Kael. And I woke. On the third night, we reached the grove. It was nothing but ash and petrified roots now, grey trees clawing at a starless sky. But in the center, a stone basin pulsed with old magic. Seren knelt. Whispered. Bled. I followed. The moment my blood hit the stone, the ground opened. And I fell. I woke in a place without time. Beneath the world. The root was everywhere, giant, pulsing veins of obsidian and bone. Faces flickered in the bark. Screaming. Begging. The god was not a being. It was a wound. You are the echo, it said. The flame reborn. Will you open the door? I stood. Behind me, the iron door waited. Chains. Eyes. A lock made of my name. And in my hands, a choice. Burn the root. Or become it. I screamed. And the world shattered. I came back to Seren's voice. Her tears on my face. You were gone, she sobbed. 4 hours. I thought. I saw it, I said. The door. The truth. And. I looked into her eyes. I'm not him yet. But I might be. She gripped my hand. Then we fight like hell. Together. And I believed her. But I also knew. The god beneath wasn't done. It had waited this long. And now, it wanted everything.
Chapter 17, The Veiled Door. The sky hadn't changed since Kael returned. Still bruised. Still breathless. Like the world itself was holding something back. He lay on the stone floor of the sanctum, unconscious, but breathing, while I watched the shallow rise and fall of his chest like it might stop at any second. My hands hovered above him, fingers twitching, useless with too many spells I couldn't cast. Not anymore. The ritual had frayed something in me. My veins itched with magic I hadn't summoned. My heart beat in rhythms that didn't feel like mine. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw the well again, open, infinite, calling. I should have known the grove wouldn't grant mercy without taking something back. I lit the perimeter with warding stones, humming low to ground myself. Kael twitched at the sound but didn't wake. I hated how pale he looked. Hated how the god beneath had touched him so deeply that not even the severance grove could fully burn it away. He had come back changed. No wings, no flame, but a silence around him now, thick and ancestral. Like he belonged more to the dead than the living. I whispered an incantation under my breath. A tiny ripple of healing light floated between us and fizzled out before it reached his skin. Not enough. Not anymore. The fire in the hearth cracked loudly, and I flinched. My magic surged again, wild, untethered, and a book near the shelf burst into flame. I doused it with a flick, swallowing a curse. I hadn't told Kael yet. That every time I used my gift since the ritual, something slipped. Time. Memory. Control. A side effect of touching the grove's heart, or something worse, some unspoken cost I'd paid without understanding. I pressed my hand to my sternum, where the sigil burned faintly beneath my skin. A remnant of the severance rite. Thorn's glyph. It pulsed when Kael drew breath, as if bound to him now. What did I tether myself to? I drifted into sleep beside him, finally too exhausted to stay awake. And that's when I dreamed of the veiled woman. This time, I stood in a circle of dead crows. 1,000 of them, arranged in a spiral. Above us, the moon split open like an eye. She waited in the center, tall, silver-veiled, faceless. You carry the echo too, she said, though her lips never moved. But yours is not flame. Yours is thread. I stepped forward. What do you mean? What thread? She turned slowly. You were born of the fifth root. The forgotten branch. The one that binds time, not fire. That is why you can't sever him. Not without severing yourself. I tried to speak, but my mouth filled with ash. She reached toward me. A single strand of silver thread unraveled from her finger and wove itself around my throat. Your magic is not fraying, Seren. It is remembering. Then I woke. I gasped into the dark, sitting upright. The hearth was cold. Kael hadn't moved. But something in me had. Thread. Not flame. Was that what separated me from the flame-bound? From the god beneath? From Kael? And what root had I come from, exactly? What fifth branch did she mean? I rose and quietly walked to the shelf of ancient codices Thorne had left behind. One was bound in twine. I hadn't dared open it before. It hummed with binding magic. Forbidden magic. I touched the cover. The thread on my throat tingled, still there, even in waking. That wasn't part of the dream. It had followed me. I opened the book. Inside, sketches of the well before it was sealed. Lines of script I could suddenly read. Those born of the fifth root do not summon. They anchor. They trap. They weave. The thread-born may rewrite a bond, but only by weaving themselves into its core. Only by becoming the vessel. I let the book fall from my fingers. Becoming the vessel. Was that what the ritual had done? Not severed Kael, but rerouted the god's attention, to me? I stumbled back to the hearth and curled in on myself. And somewhere, half in sleep, half in waking, my thoughts drifted to the past. Years ago. I was 9. Still too green to be of much use to the coven, but old enough to sense power. They brought me to the circle that night with hands like stone and voices like smoke. They told me it was my turn to offer the dream root. That I had to pluck it from the corpse of a dreamwalker who'd failed. The body still breathed. Barely. I had cried. The high matron had slapped me. Magic is built on cost, child, she said, dragging my hand forward. If you are too soft to take, you will never be strong enough to protect. That night, I took the root. I felt it pulse in my hand, felt it stitch into my chest like a parasite. And the dreamwalker's eyes opened just long enough to curse me. You will be a thread that snaps. I woke again in the present. Kael was staring at me. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. You were crying, he said hoarsely. I didn't answer right away. He sat up, groaning, and reached for my hand. His skin felt warmer than before. Almost too warm. And the sigil on my chest pulsed in time with his heartbeat. I couldn't lie to him anymore. I don't think we severed the bond, I said. Kael looked at me. Silent. Waiting. I think we rerouted it. I think the god beneath is using me now. Thread, not fire. It's different, but it's still there. His jaw clenched. Then we unbind that. You don't understand. I do. Because I saw the door too. And I saw her. I froze. The veiled woman. He nodded. She said my name was never Kael. And yours, she called you the thread weaver. My breath caught. The magic in me surged. And for the first time, it didn't burn. It wove. Light stitched across the air between us, silver, warm, humming. Kael touched them. This is you. No, I said, smiling despite the terror. This is us. Because whatever route we came from, whatever door waited at the end, we were no longer walking alone. But the god beneath had changed its game. And it would not stop until one of us broke the weave. Chapter 18, Threadbound. The sanctum was quiet. No crackling hearth, no shifting of stone or soul. Just the aftertaste of too many truths. I could feel them lingering in the air, unspoken, sharp, and heavy like smoke that refused to clear. Kael and I sat near the heart of the ritual circle, our backs lightly touching as we faced opposite directions. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us moved. Not out of fear, but because every breath, every small shift in posture, seemed to tug the invisible thread between us tauter, vibrating with a strange, living magic that neither of us fully understood. We were no longer just allies, or fugitives running from a past written in blood and shadow. We were something else now. Something bound. My hand lay open on the floor beside me. The silver weave from the ritual still shimmered faintly above it, a map of sigils and symbols I hadn't studied, but somehow knew. It pulsed not with light, but with memory, like a scar, or a promise. I could feel its weight in my bones. Kael broke the silence first. What if we can't undo this? His voice wasn't afraid. It was resigned. Tired. I let the question hang between us. It didn't need an answer. Because the truth was, we couldn't undo it. Not without unraveling everything I was becoming. Instead, I asked, what did she mean about your name? He hesitated. I heard his breath catch, soft and shallow. When he spoke, his voice was distant, like he was digging into a memory he didn't want to uncover. Kael was the name I chose. When I broke from the infernal line. When I thought I could be more. But before that, I think I was called Coven. It came in the dream, like a curse. Like someone calling me back. Coven. The name rippled through me like a forgotten melody. A name weighted with history. Legacy. I turned slightly to see him. He didn't meet my gaze. And does it mean something? It was the name given to the crown prince of Avernus, he said. The words struck like ice down my spine. Avernus, the lowest circle. The infernal plane. Not just a demon. Not just bound. Royal. Kael, no, Coven, had once been heir to a realm of fire, shadow, and dominion. Now he sat beside a half-formed thread witch who barely understood what she was. Why didn't you tell me? I asked quietly. He finally turned to me. His eyes were darker than I remembered, stormy and shadowed. Because I thought I'd buried him. I thought if I gave myself a new name, a new purpose, he'd stay dead. And now? He looked away again. Now I'm not sure who I am. The air thickened. Magic bent around us. Subtle, but palpable, like pressure building beneath the floor. And from below, I heard it again. The hum. The god beneath was listening. I rose and moved toward the scrying bowl Thorne had left behind. It sat on a pedestal, full of still water that hadn't been touched since the ritual. My reflection looked back at me, familiar, but altered. Lines of silver thread crossed my skin in delicate, impossible patterns. Not scars. Not paint. Marks of power. Of thread magic made real. I reached into the bowl. The water parted easily, as though it remembered me. As though it wanted to be seen. The vision rose immediately. A temple half crushed beneath the weight of something immense. Bones wrapped in chains, whispering in the wind. A sky split open by a black rift, torn like parchment, and from it, a being vast and hungry began to descend. The god beneath. But it wasn't looking for Kael. It was looking for me. The vision shattered. Water spilled over the edges, soaking into the carved runes at my feet. I stumbled back, my breath ragged. Kael was there instantly, steadying me. What did you see? A battlefield. Not yet ours. But soon. The god is moving faster than we thought. It's hunting us. No, me. It's following the thread. His jaw tightened. Then we can't stay. We packed quickly. There wasn't much to bring. The codices. The ritual blade Kael had hidden in the bricks beneath the hearth. The last of the dream root, still pulsing faintly in its crystal vial. I paused near the wall where the spells had gone awry. The marks I'd left behind, erratic and uncontrolled, now shimmered with intention. They weren't mistakes. They were a map. A warning. A memory. I reached out and touched one of the lines. It pulsed beneath my fingertips, echoing with a single message. We are not alone. I turned to Kael. There's something still here. In the weave. He nodded slowly. I know. I feel it too. The door creaked open to a world unchanged. Grey sky. Wind that smelled of ash and snow. But the air was different now. Charged. Watching. As we stepped across the threshold together, I felt a new pull. Not from the god beneath. Not from Kael. From the east. From the place where my magic had first awakened. A forest older than memory. A ruin buried beneath thorns. A spindle wrapped in blood and silk. Kael turned to me. Where are we going? To the source. Where this thread began. He didn't question me. He just took my hand. The moment our skin touched, the air trembled. A wind rose, whispering through the trees in a language I couldn't name. The threads on my skin glowed faintly, resonating with something far beyond this place. Seren, Kael said, his voice quiet. Do you hear that? I closed my eyes. A lullaby. Woven in a mother tongue I'd never been taught, but somehow understood. Thread-born. Thread-bound. Thread-called. I opened my eyes. We don't have long. The journey east took days. Maybe longer. The world blurred around us, each village we passed more fractured than the last. Storms gathered in unnatural shapes. People dreamed of ash. Children whispered names that didn't belong to them. Something was unraveling. On the fourth night, we stopped near a hollowed tree, twisted into the shape of a weeping woman. I couldn't sleep. The threads beneath my skin were restless. Kael sat beside me, watching the stars. Did you love her? I asked. The witch who made the first pact with you. He looked surprised. Then, slowly, he nodded. Yes. Once. But she wasn't like you. She wanted power. You want meaning. I didn't respond. I wasn't sure I could. Instead, I leaned against him. And he didn't pull away. By the time we reached the forest, the sky had turned copper. The trees stretched high above us, their leaves whispering stories older than kingdoms. I stopped at the edge of the glade. My breath caught. There it was. The spindle. A monument of thread and bone, wrapped in vines and silver moss. At its base, a well. The place where my mother had cast the last forbidden spell. Kael stepped beside me. This is where it began, isn't it? Yes. This is where the thread woke. And now, it would end. Or be rewoven. As the wind howled around us, I stepped forward. Toward the weave.